Okay, here we have Apocrypha 2, Chart of Darkness, a good but not great companion volume for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay First Edition. It actually came out in 2000, which is strange because I never associate the year 2000 with the first edition of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. But it's still got some stuff that's going good for it. It's not as good as Apocrypha now, but I did contact paper it because it means a lot to me and I'll never get rid of it. Unfortunately, it's not available on Ttrpg, so I don't have any link to give you to go pick up the PDF. But I think if you use this thing called Google, you may be able to find it somewhere if you do a little bit of searching, if you want to try to pick it up. So maybe, hopefully one of these days, Cubicle 7 will get a good copy up on Ttrpg of the PDF, and then I will link down in the description when that's available. So it's very much the same size. It kind of looks, it's laid out kind of the same as Apocrypha now. And let's go through it. So here we go. You've got the table of contents, crime and punishment. My Latin is rusty, so I'll try requies cantum pace, people and places, of diverse matters, adventures, and then a character sheet, which is both good and bad, which we'll talk about. And then you've got the credits, which I really like this to let you know who wrote what articles and where maybe they were found before, since this is a compilation, such as what a character, the chapter 15 comes from the character pack, and then some other things come from White Dwarf magazine. So very cool. But it is a hodgepodge. This is more of a hodgepodge, I think, than the first book. So this first section is fantastic. Low life, specialists, beggars, and other disreputable types. So it allows you to kind of specialize in your type of thievery. There's child beggars, which you can't be as a PC, but you can, of course, run into those as an NPC, pretty much a bunch of kids that bump into you, much like this guy here, and then someone swiping his purse. And then you've got the real specialist beggars here, such as loons, posts, stumpers, and spotties. Loons, of course, obviously people that think that they have got some sort of bizarre behavior. The posts are very interesting. They pretend to be deaf and dumb, it says, so that they can ignore loud noises. So people think that they can't hear, and then they're used as spies to gather information. Very cool. But it's just a very small thing. You can see here it just says acting and 25% of mime. And usually these come in, you can go to these after the normal thief class or career, I should say. Stumpers believe that they had, they try to fool you that they've lost a limb. And then spotties, they act like they've got leprosy or something like that. Then you've got a couple of new careers. The fishers, which I really like, and there's a good picture here of this guy. You can't really see the person, but they in essence use long poles to fish out valuables out of like a broken window or something. Mainly, obviously, here of kind of maybe a business or something like that. So I just think it's a really neat one. And then you've got informants, pretty much people who sell information. So overall, I think it's a really good section. You've got diagnosed disease and window fishing, obviously for the fisher specialist there. But if you want to have a little bit more of a unique thief, there you go. And then they've got information for, you've got to pick a pocket or two. So optional rules for thieves and victims. And it's pretty cool because it gives you rules in case you're pickpocketed. Or if your player is pickpocketing someone in order for someone to maybe spot them in the middle of their pickpocketing attempt. So it's pretty neat rules. Again, trying to really, kind of boost up the thievery class. And then it goes you can see it goes from that just straight into Cloaks of Darkness, new spells for the cult of Randall. So it just kind of just jumps, there we go. And you've got a couple new spells here, and then it goes into prisons. So this prison section, actually, I kind of foo-fooed it when I first saw it. I was like, okay, but you can have a lot of cool adventures in here. I like that. Of course, go directly to jail. Do not collect 200 gold crowns. So it talks about how prisons are, the origins of them in the Empire, and then it's going to break down several ones: Middenheim's prison, Tarnhelm's prison, their keep, and how, if you want to run maybe some adventures in there, Krinkelheim, and so on. And of course, a lot of this art in this book is very good. A lot of it is reused from other books, but it's fine. It still has that great Warhammer look to it. So yeah, the Southlands colony, good bit of section here. And then there's a couple of adventures that you can, maybe a little bit of, adventure hooks here to get you messing around with prisons. And then of course, Rest in Peace. This is about the Watchers of the Gates of Death, the cult of Moor in the Old World. Obviously, they are against necromancers, undead, and similar threats, it says. And it's going to go all into their cult. And one thing that's really cool is, of course, the Raven Knights It's their order of deserved rest. They pretty much are the workhorse of destroying, they protect the dead and prevent the misuse of their remains. And so they obviously are very much against necromancers. So it's very neat. And you can see this guy obviously is fighting off a bunch of undead. And overall, it's a different section. They talk about funerals, so you can see how it just quickly changes subject, but it's still got some interesting stuff in it. None of the stuff that's in this book is not good. It's kind of just really strange compared to what it did before. You know, it really changes what the topic is. So here's new spells for the Clerics of More. You can always have new spells, so that's cool. And they do reference Realms of Sorcery book. Let you know about the Realms of Sorcery book that came out after this. So here's the Sanctity of the Grave, talking about laws and stuff when it comes to death magic, necromancy, and stuff like that. And then you've got Drovigger's Funeral Emporium. So in essence, a spotlighted of a location of a funeral emporium with all its NPCs, maybe some adventure ideas, and its layout with its map. It's a good section just if you want to have a place like that and maybe do some adventures there. And then here's a really good section with the dead in dead places, graveyard encounters, different types of encounters you can have around graveyards with some cool art and just giving you some more adventures as you can see here. Then you've got people in places. So this is kind of strange. Again, now all of a sudden it just jumps to Otto's Printworks. So a printing company, its layout again, spotlighted here, the Printworks, as well as obviously NPCs, and then it goes into the Vermilion Pawn. Now this is a really good section. It says it's a kind of magic shop. It's kind of funny. Obviously a queen joke right there. But this is a pawn shop where Master Lucas, I'm going to try to say it, okay? Fendliler? I don't know. It's just terrible. He is a wizard who will identify your magical weapons for you for a price, of course. Great piece of art there. Fine liar. I don't know. And of course it talks about his pawn shop, and it's kind of fully statted out here, and you can see it's got a great map for the place. I like that how they don't just tell you a place, they give you a map, and maybe they give you some adventure hooks for just this building with this pawn shop here. So I think that's pretty neat. There's some magical weapons and stuff, magical items that are there, and then some adventure hooks. So it lets you know that there's a place you can put into your campaign if you want to go get your magical items identified. And then they spotlight this group of orc boys here, this Morbog's Marauders, the boys to entertain you. So it just immediately goes from that, switches over to a whole organization from the boss and all his orc friends and everything that they do, their strategies and tactics. Great art, of course, but it's just interesting to, if you want to have pretty much an orc mercenary band to maybe be nemesis against the player characters and have a bunch of stuff going on with them, or maybe them have pretty much be a nemesis against the players. So I think it's really cool. And then it breaks down, all the different type of boys that they got here in this, this horde, if you wish. See, keeps on going. Pandemonium Carnival. This is just a small, short road encounter about this carnival. This carnival has a lot of beastmen in it. You can see here a collection of beastmen, adventure hooks. So again, it's a lot of this book is a good bit of adventures. Great art, of course. I know we've seen this, and a lot of these adventures let you know how to incorporate it in case you were doing other campaigns that are written for Warhammer Fantasy, where you should put the encounter. So that's pretty cool. Again, more NPCs. And some of these, I look at some of their skills and I'm just like, wow, that's definitely a lot to keep up with. And you're definitely going to see that in the next section, Godric and Felix. Of course, I love these guys. I've read the books, most of them. I think I stopped maybe a couple I haven't read. But Godric and Felix, of course, are well known in the Warhammer world. They're absolutely awesome. Fully, their histories here at the time of this printing. And look at the size of Godric's skills. I mean, it's just incredible. His weapon skills 89, his strength's 8, toughness 8, 16 wounds, 4 attacks. Just brutal. He doesn't actually have his magical axe yet, so it's a little bit, before that. And then here's Felix. So very cool to have those stats in case if you want to add them to your campaign. of diverse matters. So here is what is a character background detail for PCs and NPCs. Very great section to have. It was also in that, I think it's the Warhammer, what is that? The Warhammer character pack, which of course is great to have. So it kind of reprints that here. So it's nice to have that in this book where you know where to go and grab it. And it's got everything you need from all sorts of male names, female names, elven, halfling, dwarvish, eye color, hair color, everything to make your character. You want to roll it up randomly and see what they have. If they're excessively hairy, long beards, scarred skin, places of birth, everything like that you would need, even with the dwarves and outside the empire, halflings. Very cool. I like how the halflings pretty much come from the Moot or Origin Table 1, which is the empire. So they got that. And then do you have parents? Do you have siblings? Do you have children? Stuff like that. Great section here, Puddlefoot's Common Herbal section. Spotlighting different herbs. I always love these sections. It's always fantastic to see the dosages, how it's applied, how you have to prepare it, and what effects it has. It's always nice for having characters go and letting them know that you've spotted a little, you know, they make a roll and they've spotted some mage leaf or slow mind or whatever, spellwort, and they go over and harvest it. So it's just a really neat thing that I've always enjoyed herbalism in games. Lifting the Veils about divination in the Warhammer world. It's got some new careers: astrologer, augur, diviner, the wise woman. So again, they're giving you some more character careers, which is pretty cool. And it's going to go into more stuff like that. This poor rabbit's going to take it. Archery and Enchantment, a great section, one of the best sections in the group. Again, boosting up what Apocrypha now did. It's giving you more archery and enchantments for magic bows and arrows. So all new magic weapons to roll up, arrows and whatnot. Again, reused art, but it's fun. But always good to roll up and have some new magical items. And it's definitely one of the better sections in the book. And then you've got just a straight up adventures. And it's going to start with this one, The Ritual. This is a hideous plot in which murder is only the start. So obviously a lot of these adventures, they have a lot of NPCs and kind of time things that's going on, buildings to search. You can tell here, obviously this reminds me of a DCC adventure where you've got the house and then you've got the sewers underneath. It's great to have obviously more adventures for first edition. It's quite big. There's Skaven, there is cultists, zombies, and just a great time is had. The Affair of the Hidden Jewel. It's a melodrama with a thick plot. So definitely kind of reminds me of that second adventure that's in Apocrypha now. Again, great layout here. I mean, you could just use this over and over again in your campaign, have this map, and it's a well fleshed out and it just looks great. So there's that adventure there. Again, here's a castle. And then Ironstone Pass, you're going over, it says a pain in the mountains. I mean, you're having some fun. Cool map here. Looks like there's some werewolves, but you never know. You can check that out. There's wolves, zombies, skeletons, a necromancer, and then here's that werewolf. So very cool, kind of a Ravenloft looking type of adventure. And then Deep Trouble in Karak Zulvor, an adventure in the traditional style of exploring this mountain here, this dwarven mountain, and seeing what's inside it. So it's not extremely big, but of course you can see here, we've got some orcs, and they're always going to cause trouble. And so pretty fleshed out, pretty good right there. And then we're going to come to this character sheet. So this character sheet looks great, and it looks fantastic. But back in the day, I didn't have a PDF. I had to try to make a photocopy of this, and this black was just brutal. You couldn't do it with your own, home printer, obviously. So you had to find someone that had a pretty good printer and make a bunch of these sheets. It looks great. I just love the design. Obviously, the kind of drawn design of it. But with all that black, it really stands out. But this is definitely one of my favorite ones. Some of these blotches in here are a little, that's kind of sucky right there to have these blotches of parchment or whatever kind of blocking up the way of where you need to write. It makes it a little bit more difficult. But I love this armor points here actually showing the pieces of armor. A little bit hard to read where the locations are. But overall, it's a nice looking sheet that just, unfortunately, I think misses a little bit of actual usability due to some of the blotches and stuff. And then here's the back of it. And you can see my wonderful contact paper job I did right there. So there it is, Apocrypha 2 Chart of Darkness. Like I said, it's probably expensive on eBay. It is a good book. I wish it was available in PDF, and I hope one day it will be, so that so everybody can check it out, through that site and get hopefully a real nice, good, clean copy of it. So there it is, Apocrypha 2. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and look forward to the next one.